What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video from the safety of your home, there are people around the world risking their lives every single day just to earn a living? We're not talking about soldiers or firefighters, the heroes we typically think of. We're talking about ordinary people doing extraordinary jobs that most of us would never even consider. Today, we're counting down the most dangerous jobs on planet Earth. From the ocean depths to dizzying heights, from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts, we'll explore the careers where one wrong move could be your last. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never complain about your 9-to-5 desk job again. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive into the world's most dangerous professions, starting from number 10 and working our way down to the absolute deadliest job on Earth. Number 10. Garbage collectors. At number 10, we have a profession that most people never think of as dangerous: garbage collectors and waste management workers. Operating in virtually every country, these essential workers face a startling fatality rate of about 34 deaths per 100,000 workers. Yes, collecting your trash is more dangerous than many jobs that seem far riskier. The biggest threat? Traffic accidents. Garbage collectors work in the most hazardous environment imaginable, constantly moving in and out of traffic, often in the dark or during rush hours. They run alongside moving vehicles, jump on and off trucks, and work in the middle of streets while cars, buses, and trucks whip past them at high speeds. In the United States alone, dozens of workers are killed each year, sometimes by the truck itself, sometimes by distracted drivers. The trucks they operate are massive machines with serious hazards. Hydraulic compactors, mechanical arms, and moving parts can crush, amputate, or seriously injure workers. In developing countries, the dangers are even greater. Workers often use minimal equipment, handle garbage by hand, and face sharp objects, toxic materials, and infectious waste daily. Garbage collectors never know what they might encounter. Needles, chemicals, broken glass, batteries, and medical waste can all end up in regular trash, putting workers at constant risk of cuts, punctures, and disease. In massive landfills like the Smoky Mountain dump in the Philippines, the risks multiply. Unstable garbage mountains, methane gas explosions, and toxic leachate threaten lives every day. Fires are another danger. Lithium batteries, propane tanks, and aerosol cans can ignite, sometimes trapping workers on trucks or in landfills. The physical demands are brutal. Workers lift thousands of pounds per shift, leading to back injuries, hernias, and joint damage, often while enduring scorching heat, freezing cold, or heavy rain. Exposure to biological hazards is constant. Rotting food, feces, and organic waste carry bacteria, viruses, and parasites, putting workers at risk of hepatitis, bacterial infections, and other diseases. In some regions, garbage collectors face violence and crime, particularly in high-risk neighborhoods. Chemical exposure is another long-term danger. Household cleaners, industrial solvents, and airborne dust contribute to respiratory issues and even cancer. During the COVID-19 pandemic, waste workers were considered essential. They continued to handle potentially contaminated trash while the rest of the world stayed home, risking their health to keep our communities clean and functioning. Garbage collection may seem mundane, but it's a job where danger lurks at every corner. Traffic, machines, disease, chemicals, fires, and crime make this essential profession one of the deadliest in the world. Number 9. Logging workers. At number 9, we enter one of the deadliest professions on Earth, logging. Primarily in the United States, Canada, Russia, Brazil, and Southeast Asia, loggers face a staggering fatality rate of about 91 deaths per 100,000 workers, making it truly one of the riskiest jobs out there. Logging has stayed near the top of the deadliest jobs list for decades, and it's easy to see why. These workers operate in remote forests, handling massive trees weighing thousands of pounds with powerful cutting equipment, all on terrain that's often treacherous. The most obvious danger? Falling trees. A 100-foot tree can split, twist, or unexpectedly send massive chunks flying. Even the most experienced loggers can misjudge a fall. Then there are widowmakers, dead branches or trees hanging above that can drop without warning, essentially acting like deadly bombs. Chainsaws are another hazard. Kickback, unstable footing, and working on the very trees they're cutting make injuries common and often fatal. Industrial machinery like feller bunchers and log loaders can move entire trees like toys, but if a worker gets caught, the results are catastrophic. The terrain and weather make things worse. Steep hills, dense underbrush, slippery ice, and strong winds all increase the risks. Yet production pressures mean work often continues even in extreme conditions. In remote regions like Alaska, Siberia, and the Amazon, help can be hours away, turning even minor accidents into life-threatening emergencies. Illegal logging in developing countries adds another layer of danger. Minimal safety standards, poor equipment, and lack of training make the work even deadlier. In the Amazon, loggers face snakes, tropical diseases, and conflicts over land. In Siberia, -60-degree temperatures bring frostbite and equipment failures, but logging goes on. Finally, the long-term effects are brutal. Chainsaw vibration can cause permanent nerve damage, constant noise leads to hearing loss, and years of heavy labor wreck backs, knees, and shoulders. Respiratory problems from sawdust are common too. Logging isn't just a job, it's a constant fight against nature, gravity, and time itself. Every day in the forest, these workers face dangers most of us can't even imagine. Number 8. Underground miners. Underground mining is one of the deadliest jobs on Earth. In developed countries, around 25 miners per 100,000 die each year. But in nations with weak safety standards, that number jumps to over 100. Miners work thousands of feet below the surface, surrounded by dangers most people never see. Mine collapses are the biggest killer. Millions of tons of rock can fall in seconds, burying workers alive. China has the deadliest mines, especially illegal ones where accidents are often hidden. Explosions are another constant threat. Methane gas and coal dust can ignite from a single spark, causing blasts that tear through entire tunnels. Even survivors often die from toxic fumes afterward. Mines also flood without warning. When water breaks through underground, workers have almost no escape. Deadly gases like carbon monoxide and hydrogen sulfide can kill in one breath, while low oxygen levels silently suffocate entire crews. In South Africa's ultra-deep gold mines, over 2 miles down, temperatures exceed 130 degrees Fahrenheit, risking heat stroke and dehydration despite cooling systems. Heavy machinery adds more danger. Crushing injuries, amputations, and lethal accidents happen regularly, especially in cramped, low-visibility tunnels. In poorer countries, artisanal mines with little or no support collapse frequently, killing thousands, including children. Explosives bring another risk. Misfires, premature blasts, or poorly planned detonations have trapped and killed entire teams. And even if miners survive the job, black lung, silicosis, and toxic exposure destroy their health over time. When disasters strike underground, communication is difficult and rescues are slow. Many miners die waiting for help. Number 7. Deep Sea Saturation Divers. At number 7, we're diving into one of the most extreme and dangerous jobs on Earth, deep sea saturation diving. These divers work in some of the harshest waters on the planet, the North Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, offshore Brazil, West Africa, and Southeast Asia. The death rate is roughly 5 per 100,000 workers, but the severity of the accidents in this profession makes it far more terrifying than the number suggests. Saturation divers descend to depths of 300 to over 1,000 feet, where the pressure can reach 30 times normal atmospheric pressure. Down here, a simple mistake can turn fatal in seconds. To understand why their job is so extreme, you first need to understand decompression sickness, also known as the bends. At depth, nitrogen dissolves into the diver's tissues. If they come up too fast, that nitrogen turns into dangerous bubbles that can cause crippling pain, paralysis, or death. Normal diving would require hours or even days of decompression after a single deep dive, which makes it completely impractical for underwater construction. The solution? Saturation diving. Divers live inside a pressurized metal chamber for weeks at a time. Their bodies stay fully saturated with gas the entire time. They're transported to the ocean floor in pressurized diving bells, complete their tasks, and return to the chamber, never decompressing until the job is over, which can take several days. But the dangers are shocking. There's the constant risk of drowning as they work in freezing water, zero visibility, strong currents, and tight spaces filled with heavy machinery. If their breathing system fails or their lifeline gets tangled, they have only seconds to react. Then there's the nightmare scenario, explosive decompression. The worst example is the infamous Byford dolphin accident of 1983, where a pressurized chamber suddenly lost pressure. 5 workers died instantly as the pressure dropped from 9 atmospheres to 1 in less than a second. The human body simply cannot survive that. It remains one of the most horrific industrial accidents ever recorded. And the dangers don't stop there. At depth, nitrogen can act like a drug, a condition called nitrogen narcosis. Divers may become confused, euphoric, or even try to remove their own breathing gear without realizing what they're doing. Too much oxygen at high pressure can cause oxygen toxicity, leading to seizures, deadly when you're underwater. Even staying warm is a battle. In places like the North Sea, water temperatures hover just above freezing. Divers rely on heated suits, and if that heating fails, hypothermia can strike fast. Inside the chamber, the threat is just as real. A simple fire becomes catastrophic in a pressurized, oxygen-rich environment. Escape is impossible, and several divers have died trapped in burning chambers. Communication is difficult because pressure makes divers' voices high-pitched and distorted. A single misunderstanding can lead to fatal mistakes. And if someone has a medical emergency during saturation, like a stroke or severe injury, they can't simply be brought to the surface. Emergency decompression takes days, and treating them under pressure is extremely limited. Finally, in developing regions, safety standards are often weaker. Older equipment, inexperienced crews, and poor protocols make accidents far more likely and far more deadly. Deep-sea saturation divers perform a job few people on Earth could handle. Their work keeps global oil and gas infrastructure running, but every time they descend, they risk their lives in one of the most unforgiving environments known to man. Number 6. Bomb disposal experts. At number 6, we enter one of the most nerve-wracking professions imaginable: bomb disposal experts, also known as explosive ordnance disposal technicians. Working in conflict zones like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, parts of Africa, and even in domestic settings worldwide, these specialists face death every time they approach a suspicious device. The fatality rate is hard to pin down, but one thing is certain: in this job, there is no second chance. One wrong move, one wrong wire, and it's over. Military bomb disposal technicians face improvised explosive devices, unexploded ordnance, and booby traps. In Iraq and Afghanistan, IEDs have been among the deadliest threats to coalition forces. Bomb makers are constantly evolving their techniques, creating ever more sophisticated devices. The psychological pressure is immense. Imagine walking up to a device designed specifically to kill you. You must remain calm, methodical, and precise, knowing a single mistake can end your life. Blast suits and body armor provide limited protection. They can stop shrapnel from smaller explosions, but a large IED will kill regardless of the gear. Yet technicians approach the device anyway. Victim-operated IEDs are particularly dangerous. Anti-handling devices trigger secondary explosions at the slightest disturbance. Every approach is a test of skill, knowledge, and nerves. Unexploded ordnance from past wars is another silent killer. In Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, decades-old bombs and mines remain unstable and deadly. In Europe, World War II bombs are still discovered at construction sites, sometimes requiring city evacuations to safely defuse them. Several technicians have died dealing with these relics. Domestic bomb squads face terrorist threats, suspicious packages, and improvised devices. After events like the Boston Marathon bombing, these teams have to render safe devices anywhere, often under extreme pressure. The technical knowledge required is extraordinary. Technicians must master electronics, chemistry, engineering, and psychology, thinking like the bomb maker to anticipate traps. Robots and remote devices are used when possible, but many situations demand hands-on work, especially in crowded areas or when time is critical. In countries facing narco-terrorism and organized crime, like Colombia and Mexico, bomb disposal teams face well-made devices specifically designed to kill experts. Some bombs even include chemical or radioactive materials, creating dirty bomb threats. The long-term toll is severe. PTSD, anxiety, and depression are common among veterans of this work. Even training is risky. Equipment failures or procedural mistakes can prove fatal. Being a bomb disposal expert isn't just a job. It's a constant dance with death, where every decision, every second can mean the difference between life and disaster. Number 5. High-rise window washers. At number 5, we rise to dizzying heights with one of the most nerve-wracking jobs on the planet, high-rise window washers. These workers make their living hundreds, sometimes thousands of feet above the ground on skyscrapers in Dubai, New York, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and cities where buildings pierce the clouds. You might be surprised to see this profession ranked so high, but once you understand what these workers face every day, it becomes clear. High-rise window washers suffer around 40 deaths per 100,000 workers, and even more endure life-changing injuries. These men and women stand on platforms barely bigger than a door frame, suspended by cables thinner than your wrist, exposed to whipping winds and unpredictable weather. Their biggest and most obvious threat? Falling. If a cable snaps, if the platform shifts, or if a worker loses their balance, there's almost no room for error. Safety harnesses help, but the sudden force when they catch you can still cause broken bones, spinal injuries, or internal trauma. Equipment failure is a constant fear. In 2014, 2 window washers at One World Trade Center were left dangling 69 stories above New York when their platform's cables malfunctioned. They survived, but many others haven't been so lucky. Then there's the wind. At 50 stories and above, wind speeds are dramatically stronger than at ground level. Gusts can slam a platform against the building, flip it sideways, or push it dangerously far from the structure, leaving workers hanging in open air. And in cities with extreme heights like Dubai and Hong Kong, the danger multiplies. The Burj Khalifa stands over 2,700 feet tall. Cleaning windows near the top means battling violent winds where even a tiny mistake can be fatal. Modern architecture adds new challenges. Skyscrapers aren't simple rectangles anymore. They curve, twist, and step back in complex ways. Window washers must maneuver around these shapes, often placing themselves in awkward exposed positions. Weather is another unpredictable enemy. A calm morning at street level can turn into a storm at the top of a tower. Rain makes surfaces slick, lightning turns platforms into targets, and winter brings ice that stiffens cables and creates dangerous weight on equipment. Thick gloves needed for the cold also reduce grip and control. The job is physically demanding too. Balancing on swaying platforms while performing repetitive cleaning motions is exhausting, and the psychological pressure of working at extreme heights wears on even the most experienced workers. In developing countries, the danger is even worse. Safety regulations may be weak, equipment outdated, and training minimal. In some places, workers clean skyscrapers with almost no protective gear, essentially free climbing at lethal heights. And finally, there's the mental toll. Working on the edge of danger every single day requires a special mindset. A single close call can haunt a worker for years, and the stress of knowing that one mistake could be your last never truly goes away. This is why high-rise window washing stands firmly at number 5, one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, performed by people who literally risk their lives to keep our cities shining. Number 4. Microchip manufacturing workers. At number 4, we have a surprising entry: electronics manufacturing workers in developing nations like China, Vietnam, Malaysia, and India. While developed countries have strict safety protocols, facilities in regions with lax regulations expose workers to severe and often hidden dangers. The primary threat is chemical exposure. Semiconductor manufacturing uses some of humanity's most toxic chemicals. Hydrofluoric acid absorbs through skin and can cause cardiac arrest hours later. Workers might not know they're exposed until it's too late. Arsenic, phosphine, and other toxic gases used in chip production can kill instantly or cause cancers and neurological damage years later. In clean rooms, powerful chemicals surround workers for entire shifts. Even with protective equipment, exposure occurs. Long-term cancer rates among electronics workers in some regions are significantly elevated. In many factories, workers handle toxic materials without proper protection, adequate ventilation, or medical monitoring. Fires and explosions are catastrophic. These chemicals are often flammable or explosive. Static electricity alone can ignite certain gases. A 2018 fire at a South Korean electronics plant killed several trapped workers. The electronic waste industry is even deadlier. In places like Guyu, China, workers burn circuit boards to extract metals, releasing toxic fumes. They acid wash components and handle lead and mercury with minimal protection. Children have worked in these facilities, exposed to toxins causing permanent damage. Workers develop rare cancers, neurological conditions, and reproductive problems at rates far exceeding the general population. Some conditions don't appear until decades after exposure, making the true toll difficult to measure but undeniable. Number 3. Cell phone tower climbers. At number 3, cell phone tower climbers face an astonishing fatality rate of approximately 100 deaths per 100,000 workers, 10 times the construction industry average. Working in the United States and worldwide, these technicians maintain the towers that keep your phone connected. These towers range from 200 to over 2,000 feet tall. Workers must climb while carrying equipment weighing 50 pounds or more, then perform detailed technical work at the top while exposed to extreme wind and weather. Unlike window washers on platforms, tower climbers are scaling the structure itself. The primary killer is falls. Even with harnesses, workers die when disconnecting from one anchor point to move to another. Tight budgets and demanding schedules pressure workers to climb in dangerous weather and rush their work. Fatigue plus height equals death. Weather multiplies the danger. Lightning strikes have killed climbers on towers. Wind gusts at 200+ feet can blow workers off or cause them to lose their grip. In winter, ice transforms metal towers into slippery death traps that must still be climbed. The 5G rollout has created massive demand, drawing inexperienced workers into the field. Small contracting companies often lack proper safety programs, using old equipment and providing inadequate training. If a worker falls but catches in their harness, suspension trauma can kill them within minutes before rescue arrives. In developing countries with rapidly expanding cellular networks, minimal training and substandard equipment make the job even deadlier. The true death toll is likely far higher than reported. Number 2. Snake milkers, venom extractors. At number 2, professional snake milkers extract venom from the world's deadliest serpents in Australia, Thailand, India, Brazil, South Africa, and the United States. They handle snakes whose single bite can kill a human in minutes, and they do it every single day. Snake milkers work with black mambas, king cobras, taipans, and vipers evolved specifically to kill. The venom causes neurotoxic paralysis, blood cell destruction, or massive tissue death.
Extracting it requires holding the snake's head, forcing it to bite a collection membrane, and massaging venom glands while the snake fights violently to escape. Despite all precautions, bites happen. Each one is potentially fatal, requiring immediate antivenom. But repeated antivenom use causes severe allergic reactions. Some handlers become so sensitized they can no longer receive treatment, meaning their next bite will be their last. In Australia, handlers work with inland taipans whose venom can kill 100 humans per bite. In Thailand and India, king cobras reach 18 feet long and deliver massive amounts of neurotoxic venom. Several professional handlers have been killed over the years. The psychological toll is immense. Every day means handling animals that can kill you, where only your concentration stands between life and death. Accidents happen during feeding, cleaning, or transport, not just venom extraction. Some handlers have died during routine maintenance when they let their guard down. In developing countries with minimal oversight, facilities might lack adequate antivenom supplies or work with species having no specific antivenom available. The irony, these workers risk death daily to create the antivenoms that save snakebite victims worldwide.
Number 1. Underwater welders in nuclear reactors. At number 1, we reached the deadliest job on Earth: underwater welders working inside nuclear reactor vessels. Found in the United States, France, Russia, Japan, and China, these specialists face almost every extreme hazard known to man, all at the same time. This job combines the dangers of deep diving, drowning, decompression sickness, equipment failure, with the electrocution risks of underwater welding, and then adds lethal radiation exposure inside confined spaces. No other profession stacks so many possible ways to die into a single task. These welders descend into reactor vessels filled with dark, contaminated water, often working with near-zero visibility, navigating entirely by touch. They weld with electricity underwater, where even a tiny equipment fault can result in instant electrocution. And surrounding them is one of the most radioactive environments on the planet. Even when reactors are shut down, radiation levels remain dangerously high. Water provides some shielding, but not nearly enough. These workers absorb in a few days what the average person receives over several years. Every minute inside increases cancer risk: acute radiation syndrome, leukemia, thyroid cancer. These aren't possibilities, they're expected long-term consequences. After the Fukushima disaster, welders had to enter some of the most radioactive environments ever measured. Many knew the exposure would likely shorten their lives, yet they went in anyway, because failure meant catastrophe for millions. On top of radiation, everything can go wrong at once. Their equipment must remain perfectly sealed. If contaminated water leaks into their suit, radioactive particles come into direct contact with their skin. If their air supply fails, if they become trapped, injured, or if radiation levels spike suddenly, rescue may be impossible. The psychological pressure alone is crushing. Imagine doing precision work while knowing every job may be silently shaving years off your life. And only the best can do it. These workers must be elite divers, certified welders, and trained in nuclear systems. It takes years to reach this level, and only a tiny number of people worldwide are qualified. Even then, several workers have died from reactor vessel incidents, and many more have suffered long-term health effects. Studies show significantly higher cancer rates among these workers, especially blood cancers and thyroid disorders. The real tragedy is that radiation-induced cancers often don't appear until decades later. The true death toll isn't counted in immediate accidents. It's counted in lives cut short long after the job is done. This is why underwater nuclear welders take the #1 spot. No other job combines drowning, electrocution, radiation exposure, confined spaces, and guaranteed long-term health damage. These workers risk everything to keep nuclear plants functioning, paying a price that most of us can't even imagine. So there you have it. From commercial fishing to underwater nuclear welding, we've covered the world's most dangerous jobs. These aren't thrill seekers, they're ordinary people doing extraordinary work, often out of necessity to keep our world running. Danger comes in many forms, immediate like falling from heights, or invisible like radiation that kills years later. What's sobering is how these risks multiply in developing countries where safety standards barely exist and economic pressure forces people to accept unthinkable dangers. These workers deserve our respect. Every light switch, phone call, or grocery item exists because someone risked their life. If this changed your perspective, hit that like button and subscribe for more eye-opening content. Next time you see someone doing dangerous work, give them a nod of appreciation. They're literally risking everything for their paycheck. Thanks for watching. The world runs on the courage of people willing to do what most of us never could.